Hello, and thank you for joining us for the sneak peek of Arizona Common Core Tools, the Standard Insight and Curriculum Companion.
We'll begin with the phase-by-phase rollout based on the state of Arizona's rollout for the Common Core standards. Beginning in Phase 1, in 2010-11, many schools were still there in 2011-12, beginning with the basic understanding and knowledge, awareness of those standards, building it up, and then bringing teachers into building curriculum and knowledge and incorporation of those actual standards into their daily lessons. So actual implementation of the standards. So Phase 2, and then Phase 3 looking forward as we come upon this next year and looking toward the assessment in 14-15. We want to look toward building assessment and actual instruction. So if you look at the bottom, these three arrows, we really want to bridge these gaps between teachers who are just building awareness, building knowledge and incorporation while they begin to develop their curriculum, and then fully implementing these standards into their daily instruction and assessment. So knowing that, we know that teachers are in multiple entry points as they come into the standards. Some are still in the building awareness phase, some are building knowledge, they've got a slight awareness, they're really starting to dig into the standards. In Pinal County, we are working to really get everyone on the same playing field, level the playing field, so they say, and begin with unpacking the standards, really taking a deep look into what the standards are asking the students to know and be able to do, and align their resources and assess students for mastery of those standards, what that really looks like. So there's one tool called the Standards Insight tool that really addresses this really comprehensive unpacking. And then the second tool is the Curriculum Companion tool, which actually starts to aid teachers in building that curriculum and look forward to that full implementation into instruction. So in the Curriculum Companion, they'll begin to develop their lesson plans and build their instruction. The purpose in the Standards Insight tool for the unpacking is that these new standards, any of you that have taken a good look at them, know how dense they are, and that they ask multiple things to take place in one standard. So teachers really need to delve in and do an unpacking to gain a deeper understanding of the intention of the standard, what the steps are toward mastery for their students, and how to really determine instruction based on a deeper understanding of the intention of the standard. So they'll have to look at their resource materials, how will they assess that level of mastery, begin to develop rubrics, and have conversations with other teachers. So to guide them in that conversation, we have the Standards Insights tool. It's a web-based application, and really it's a comprehensive unpacking of the standards that identifies what evidence of student attainment looks like for the teachers, the vocabulary teachers will need to effectively teach that standard, and what students are expected to know and be able to do within that standard, and then their key understandings and takeaways. So we're going to stop for just a second and take an actual look So here we'll take a look at the actual Standards Insight tool, and we'll begin with, actually let's begin with Language Arts. You'll see that you have three tabs across the top: Mathematics, Language Arts, and Literacy and All Content. You can search by strand, anchor, grade groups, or by keyword. Let me show you what that means. First we'll load all the standards. And once we do that, you will see that the standards are listed along the left-hand side in their actual verbiage. The standard ID with the strand, the cluster, and then the actual coding. The grade level, those 5 unpacked areas we just discussed: evidence of student attainment, teacher vocabulary, knowledge and skills the students need, and their key understandings. To the far right, you'll see that there are 5 editable fields. We have chosen resources for one, technology for one, and we still have 4 more fields. There are 6 editable fields. Those are customizable for what's relevant to you and your district. And we'll come back over here now. And I want to show you a few key things. 478 standards are the sum of all K-12 language arts standards. If we want to filter that down and have some conversation with some colleagues, let's talk about just writing. I can apply, I just want to see the writing standards. 110 of those. I really just want to talk about production and distribution of writing right now. And then I'm going to have a conversation with my colleagues in, let's say, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And so the standards will filter down for us. Here are standards, all of the writing standards. There are 12 left out of that strand. I really only want to look at standard 6 though, so I'm going to put standard 6 in the search field. And so now I only have standard 6, grades 3, 4, 5, and 6. If I want to really narrow that down, I can narrow it down by the columns, which I want to view, if I want to view them all, and then I can freeze which ones will stay frozen right here and the rest will scroll behind them. So I'm going to go ahead and select, I would really like to see the standard. I know that the grades go for 3, 4, 5, 6. I really want to see evidence of attainment and key understandings. You know what, I'm going to say, yeah, evidence of attainment and key understandings are really where I really want to start to have a conversation about how this standard builds and maybe start to develop looking at some formatives. So I can narrow it down to just these 3 columns. Here's the standard, here's how it progresses by grade level. Here are the differences in what evidence of student attainment will look like and the key understandings as they build for students. So I can start to look in here for what specifically I would want to build a formative off of, but also how I know when my students have attained mastery. And I can break it down into specific skill sets versus all of that really dense standard trying to determine what I should assess. I'm going to go ahead and clear all filters. Anytime you want to change your search, you definitely want to do that. We'll go into mathematics now. It's a very similar breakdown. Just so we can pull them up a little more quickly, we'll just go ahead and say counting and cardinality and apply. And there are 7 under counting and cardinality, and we can see that that is only in, let's see, kindergarten. And that is it. There are 7 standards in kindergarten for counting and cardinality. If I wanted to see the word number, I could type that in, and you'll notice all the word where the word number comes up is highlighted. This is one of the many amazing features of this tool. If you were to go and try to have a conversation with some colleagues, fractions would be a great one in mathematics, writing argument would be a great one in language arts. If you type it in, you'll notice it highlights it all the way across through the student's understanding. So sometimes it may not come up. So you see in standard number 1, it never comes up in the actual verbiage of the standard. However, this tool will pull it up if it's described anywhere in the student's actual skill set or understandings. That's something very powerful that you wouldn't have if you just opened up the binder and started having conversation, because all you would have in front of you were the actual standards. And now we'll go back to our PowerPoint and take a look at the other tools. We're going to shift gears a little bit. That was the Standards Insight tool. That's to help you have that collaboration and conversation with colleagues, really get a deeper understanding of what the standards are asking and the intentions of them, and begin to build formatives and look at instruction. Now we're going to shift gears to the Curriculum Companion, the second tool, which was built in Wisconsin with no preconceived template. They just had a guiding question that said, how would you organize the Common Core standards for effective instruction? Those of you that got the standards, had them in front of you, did understand how to unpack them and have a deeper understanding, you still had needed to figure out how to organize them for actual effective instruction. So they've done that hard legwork for us. Standards were the starting point, and improvements are continuing, and it's a very collaborative process. And the implementation of this tool is also a very collaborative process. It's based on the state standards published. All core standards are addressed, and it is really just a comprehensive scope and sequence. It gives teachers a framework for developing their curriculum and addressing every standard. So we'll just take a really quick look at the lesson plan template that comes in the tool. This happens to be a language arts template, and it's very user-friendly. You just click and add, pulls the standards right in, but you'll also notice that it actually gives the elements of effective instruction are embedded within the lesson plan based on a gradual release of responsibility model. It also provides, the Curriculum Companion also provides a yearly scope and sequence that tells the teachers which standards are being addressed where, how the modules are broken down, and you can go in and see that every standard is addressed and comes back through transfer and application. Another quick look at the mathematics is a little bit different. They've got a couple of components, cognitive complexity, but basically the same thing. The elements of effective instruction are embedded within the side, and the key components teachers need to address when developing a lesson are there. And again, the year-long scope and sequence. And it's really, this is where the work of the teachers comes into play. They can collaborate within the Insight tool, have the search, really build and have conversations. And then when they get into the Curriculum Companion, this is where there's some vertical communication. You have teachers working across grade bands to really make this work and be effective at your district's needs. So it's locally customizable. You can add your own assessments. It's assessment neutral. It's resource neutral so that you can make it meaningful to your students and your teachers. There are sample lesson plan templates like you just viewed, or they can use their own lesson plan templates. And then science is the next one on the heels. Social studies will come later. So let me go ahead and take you out and take you to a live look of the Curriculum Companion. Again, we'll begin in language arts. In the Curriculum Companion, this is within your district, teacher, school, and grade. You can search it. When a teacher logs in, they will come up to just what they're associated with. They will be associated with specific courses. So a teacher, a first grade teacher, would come in and they would have a language arts and a math for first grade is all that they would see. We're going to go ahead and go into kindergarten in the language arts, and you'll see that it is built on a sophistication gradual build, and these are called overarching enduring understandings. These remain consistent from kindergarten through 12th grade, kind of like the anchor standards. So every teacher K-12 has the exact same 4 overarching enduring understandings. Everyone K-12 begins with building meaningful connections to deeply foster an understanding of the human experience through reading and writing. So as you go in, you would click on the OEU 1. Each OEU has 2 to 4 inquiry modules. Each module is broken down 2 to 4 weeks approximately, so you can see where it comes out to be about a quarter per overarching enduring understanding. We're going to go ahead and click into Module A, which is the launch module beginning the school year, and you'll notice it gives you the title, Who Am I as a Reader and Writer, and it'll give us a length of approximately 2 weeks. That's not a set in stone, it's just an approximation. The teacher has an overview that kind of sets the stage, gets the thinking set that attaches to this overarching enduring understanding and sets the stage for the teacher to know where she's taking her students, she or he. Essential questions the students should be able to answer by the end of that 2 weeks. And then the strands down here explain again to the teacher to set the stage. We will be reading from literature and informational text, creating shared writing and drafting of class books using technology as how we'll address our writing standards, establishing collaborative conversations and engaging in them in our classroom using words and phrases. So this just tells you exactly what it is you will be doing to address these strands. Acquiring print concepts will be their foundational skills. You will see asterisks here sometimes, and those just mean that that is strongly emphasized, headed towards mastery during this inquiry module. As we come up here, if we click to the right, the Common Core standards, we'll have our focus standards, foundational standards, and application standards. We'll click on focus standards, and in here, during this 2 weeks, I will focus specifically on these 6 standards. That's where my lesson plans will take me. I can go down here and read the actual verbiage of those standards because I don't know them by heart yet. And if I click the plus sign here, it pulls in from the Standards Insight tool you saw earlier and gives you those five unpacked sections. So there is the unpacked if you want to get rid of that. So I want to go in here and say my students will be able to actively and purposefully engage in group reading activities to understand text. So that's what that looks like when they hit mastery of that specific standard. Foundational standards, we're just going to focus explicitly on this basic features of print. That's where I'm going to really focus. There are other standards like technology standards if you wanted to pull them in. If you wanted to pull in some, as new science standards come, they will have a new tab at the top eventually. But if you wanted to pull in some other standards, performance tasks, and they give you some sample performance tasks, lesson tools, teaching points, tell you exactly what the teacher will be able to do at the actual instruction. The teacher can add more, but this is just a good starting point, especially for those new teachers. We'll go into my lesson plans and my lesson templates. If we go into the model template, you can see in here it brings right in the overarching enduring understanding. It tells you what inquiry module you're in. You will choose your duration. As you mostly know, the lesson plans in the Common Core standards aren't the day-by-day lesson plans we're used to. They're usually at least a week long in duration or in that vicinity, so you would want to put, so this is a 2-week module. This lesson may be 3 days, maybe 5 days. And then walk them through each of the components of developing a lesson plan. When they click on utilizing teaching points, those teaching points we just looked at will pull right back in. They can just pull them right into the standards. They're clickable, and they will pull right into their lesson plan. And the same goes for those standards. Identifying focus standards, they can just click and the standards will pull right into the lesson plan. And along the left side, those elements of effective instruction we talked about are there for teachers to be mindful of all the way through the closure phase, checking for understanding. Assessment and resource neutral, like we said, you'll be able to pull your summatives in and formatives and any benchmarks. Resources the same. All of them are very easy to edit. They've given some resources in here, but to edit resources is very simple. You can add a web link. You can browse into your own files if you want to just pull a file right in. Same thing for assessment. If you've done all the work to create an assessment, you can go right into your files and pull it in. You can pull in a web link if you want to link into some other form of assessment that you have to link your students right into it. But that is always a possibility. And we will swing over to mathematics. Okay, and we'll take a look at the mathematics now. It's basically laid out the same. Inquiry modules are broken down. If you click on the inquiry module, there is no duration. You are determining that at your own site level. But other than that, it's broken down pretty much the same. The overview, the essential questions, critical focus areas, and then as you click over here to the right, you have all of the same choices. Rather than performance tasks, you may choose between mathematics tasks and determine their level of rigor.
And with that, we'd like to thank you for your time and direct you with any questions or comments to the following email addresses.